Right then, welcome to today's video, which is going to be me taking you through an entire leg day, how I grew my legs. Now, not to blow my own horn or anything, but my nickname whilst I was competing was Mikey Jam Quads. And if you didn't know, my last name is Jamroz. That's why I was called Jam Quads. Now, right now, they're not necessarily looking the best. Obviously, I'm a little bit fluffier. However, the quads are still there. I'm sure I would have posted up some videos or some photos of what they look like, just to give you a bit of credentials so that you can actually trust what I'm saying. But this is a few tips and tricks that I've learned along the way to build my legs. Now, one thing I will preface is legs and muscle groups in general, like how strong they are and how quick you grow them, is vastly and majority are very much so down to the fact of your genetics, right? So I've got genetically very strong leg genetics. Okay, I know I'm waffling on here, but essentially I've got really good mind muscle connection with my legs. Always have felt great during every single exercise. And since I was younger, they've always been relatively big, right? When I was 19 years old, I squat like 210 for 2 reps, and they just naturally blew up really, really quickly as soon as I started training them. Because I didn't train them for the first 3 years of me going to the gym, but then I actually realized, hey, I want big legs. And throughout all the prep, I only trained them once a week. I only maybe had 6 sets of quads per week. So it was hardly anything. But there are a few things that actually play into factor growing your legs more than the actual training itself, which I'll take you through. But this session, starting off all of my leg days, how I always start them with abs. So I'm doing hanging leg raises or captain's chair leg raises. Normally I do this or a punch of some sort. But I'm just going to do 3 sets really, because you don't want rubbish abs. You want good abs whilst you're training, just to balance out the physique. Now, another thing which I'm going to do after this is stretch out my legs a little bit. I've always been pretty rubbish at it because I get lazy whenever I have to stretch, because I hate doing it, quite frankly. However, if you do not want to stretch, having a little 5-10 minute walk on the treadmill before you actually start your session can make a massive difference just in terms of the mind muscle connection. And another thing that I used to do is I used to pre-exhaust my legs with leg extensions before actually going into my heavy movements. Now I don't do that, but essentially it just allows a little bit of blood flow into your legs before you start training them, so you can feel and connect to them a lot better. But let's get on with this set, and then I'll talk about some other things that I've learned along the way, which arguably are more important than the training itself. Another thing that a lot of people overlook is hydration, right? Hydration is super important, just in terms of one, actually making sure your muscles are adequately hydrated in regards to electrolyte balances, right? It's all down to nutrient uptake, your digestion, your overall energy. And think about it, your muscles are made up of a very high percentage of water. So you've got to make sure you're actually providing that water. And if you're taking things like creatine, right, you want to maximize the effect of creatine by actually being hydrated. When I hydrate myself, I always include electrolytes. Now, I'm lucky to be sponsored, so I can absolutely rinse electrolytes pretty much with every single drink of the day, which I don't know if that's the best thing ever, but I definitely do, because I sweat a lot, I train hard, so I'm constantly flushing through my water. And if I'm just drinking water by itself, it's not actually sticking, right? You just notice you're peeing all the time, and having electrolytes will adequately hydrate you. On that topic, another really important thing is actually making sure you're adequately fueled for your session. And that's in terms of your pre-workout food, right? Legs are a very demanding muscle group. You've got to make sure you've got enough carbohydrates to actually fuel yourself in terms of the energy. Now, if you're in a diet, it's obviously might be a bit different, but in dieting phases, you always want to make sure you're saving the most amount of food before the gym and after the gym. Those are the most optimal places you can have food. The main goal is to preserve and or build muscle. That's always the main goal. Now, with legs, a lot of people like to structure high days around legs. I don't particularly, because my legs are my strongest point of my physique. But just making sure you've got an adequate amount of carbohydrates. So right now I've been 100 carb before the gym. I've had almost 20 gram of fat. And the reason I've had 20 gram of fat is to slow down the digestion of carbohydrates, because my leg session is quite long. I burn through the carbs very, very quickly. And if I didn't have fat in my pre-workout meal, basically those quick digesting carbs, they would just run through me really, really quickly. And the fats actually slow the digestion of the carbohydrates down. So it's a almost pulsified release of carbohydrates throughout the session. So I've got energy throughout all of it. I have taken a pre-workout, not a crazy high stimulant pre-workout today. And essentially that's another thing that you can do to make sure that, one, you've got enough energy, and two, you can push yourself as hard as possible. But I'll go into that in just a second. We'll finish up on these abs and start with our first exercise. Okay, so we are beginning with the first exercise of today. That is actually involving legs, and it is a seated leg curl. I'm only doing 2 sets beginning on this, so I've just opened up my program on my phone here, and we've got 2 sets of 10 to 15 reps, but nice and easy. Now, you'll notice throughout my leg sessions that volume and sets are relatively low, just because I don't really need to grow my legs. Well, I do. Obviously, I constantly want to improve them, but it's more important I prioritize my other muscle groups more than my legs, because I really need them to catch up. Now, in terms of training itself and training philosophies, the only way you're going to grow your legs, or at least the quickest way, is by progressively overloading. There simply is no other way, right? A lot of people just go into the gym and do the bare minimum. What you need to do is you need to go into the gym and say to yourself, before you even step foot in the gym, is, hey, the numbers that I hit last week, the weights that I did, the reps, the sets, I'm going to beat that, right? I'm going to do a lot better than I did the previous week. And that is how you ensure progressive overload, because the main thing you want to be doing is increasing your weights, increasing your reps, right? It's one or the other. And that's how we keep track of muscle building in the short term. If you stay on the same weight for like 2, 3, 4, 5 months, you're just not going to progress. In a diet, it's a bit of a different sort of ball game, where your initial goal is to carry on increasing your weight, but thereafter the main thing is trying to make sure you don't regress, because a lot of people will go into dieting phases, and because they're dieting, will essentially take it a lot easier. They'll stop going as hard, and they'll start reducing the weights, start not taking it as hard, and that's where you actually lose muscle in a dieting phase. A lot of people don't even realize that you can lose muscle so rapidly, but if you don't stay on top of your training, I promise you'll lose muscle. That is one of the most important things, and that's why having someone like a coach to keep you accountable, not only for your diet, but also making sure you're training and your weights start going down, that is super, super crucial. So always focus on improving every single week on week, even if it's by 1 rep or 0.25 kg. It makes a bloody difference. Even if it's half a rep, I promise you it adds up over time. So that's one thing that's very, very crucial. Okay, let's go into our first set. Let's show you kind of the intensity that I like to take it out. I quite literally go as hard as I can. It makes a difference. Now, will I take it so far that I have a chance of injuring myself? No, I don't really like to take any 50-50 reps. I always like to make sure I'm safe. And that's what we're going to do here. So let's get the first set done. 10 to 15 reps. If I get over, it's fine. If I get under, it's fine. I'll adjust for next week, because this is my first new week on my new split. Let's get it. That is set number 1 complete. That was pretty tiring. Hopefully you noticed that during the actual set itself, I made sure that I had control of the weight the entire time through, where essentially I'm letting it go back up and lengthen my hamstring. I've got it under control the whole way through. I'm not letting it just fly back up. That's how you create that tension. That's how you lengthen the hamstring. That's how you kind of tear it so it can repair. And on the way down, I'm relatively powerful. And then I really squeeze right at the bottom to get a nice contraction in my hamstrings. And I make sure that they stay under tension the whole way through the set. So just one more of that. Probably lower it by 20 kilos or pounds on the actual machine, because I've got the full stack here. Probably going to have to switch this exercise up too, because I'm already stacking out in the rep range, so that's fine. But yeah, that is exercise 1, set 1, complete. Now, the next tip is to pick exercises that you actually enjoy. So I have been doing hack squat for God knows how long. Well, all of prep, right? And I just got a bit bored of it. Don't get me wrong. I think hack squat is probably the best leg builder there is, if I'm completely honest with you. However, after I finished prep, I really, really enjoyed belt squats. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. It's my main leg compound movement. It's going to be some leg squats, belt squats, and some leg press. And then I'll take you through everything else as well. But essentially, what I like to do is I only do 2 sets, and I treat one as like a heavy set where I try to get strong at it, and the second one is more of a hypertrophy set where I do more reps essentially, just to absolutely destroy the muscle. Now, one thing is adjust your sets and your reps depending on how well you can recover, because for me, 2 sets is more than enough. I find stimulus, I grow from it, so I've learned that over the years. But more importantly, you want to be able to recover going into your next leg session, because if you go into it fatigued, tired, you can barely feel your legs after the previous leg session, then you're not going to grow, you're not going to be able to push yourself, right? So reduce the volume or increase the volume depending on that, making sure you recover, and that being a priority. And then another tip is make sure you've got some good headphones on that blast some amazing music, because legs are often a day that many people don't enjoy, including myself. So having some motivation in your ears to absolutely boost you and take you to that next level does make a difference. Like, I seriously promise you, you should be listening to some crazy songs like, I don't want to tell you what I'm listening to right now. Absolute tune, I'll tell you that much. So get on some good songs, push yourself, and whatever makes you feel good, do it, and train for that fade, like I said to you. Let's get this set sorted out. I actually am a bit annoyed because this belt is all tangled up and it's not letting me get the depth that I want, the range of motion. You'll notice one thing I preach a lot is making sure you get adequate depth, right? Ass to grass is what they say with this. I literally can't. So I can't even untangle it. It's an excuse, but that's why I'm not going ass to grass. And normally I would wear knee sleeves when I am doing that, but I don't need to, simply because I'm not going ass to grass. But this will still create enough stimulus for me. Let's get into the set. Legs really takes it out of me. Already pretty decent pump. Okay, I'll do another set or 2 of that, depending how I feel. Wearing knee sleeves and squat shoes is definitely one thing I recommend. I haven't done it today. I'm setting a bad example because I'm wearing slides and no knee sleeves, because I forgot both of them, and because of the actual exercise choices I've picked today. But this is actually my first proper leg session in like, oh my God, 4 weeks maybe. So they are absolutely fried. There's not a lot that I need to do right now to get the stimulus that I need. Definitely going to need like a good 3-4 minute rest after that set. They are burning. I've still got cardio to do after this. But hey, that's the importance of eating enough food before the gym so you got enough energy. I'll get another set or 2 done of this and we'll be on to the next exercise. Another thing I don't see often enough, which I used to make the mistake of, is just simply consistency, guys. Too many people skip leg days. I used to be the same, right? For the first 2-3 years of my gym career, 16 to like 18, 19, I think 18 even, my dad wouldn't let me squat or deadlift, so I didn't whatsoever. I only did bench press and all the other movements I could. I didn't really understand it all. But when I was 19 or 18, I can't remember now, as soon as I started training legs, I stayed consistent with it, did not miss 1 week, constantly did it, was always trying to improve my squat, get stronger and stronger and stronger. And guess what? It paid off. Like, too many people nowadays make it a meme of like, oh, screw leg day, don't need big legs. But say you're in a bedroom with a girl, right? You take your trousers off and you've got the skinniest legs in the world. Don't think that's going to be a pretty fun time for you, right? You have little toothpicks as legs. You got to have big legs, okay? Because if you've got a massive upper body, you've got really skinny legs, it's just disproportionate and it looks silly. So you don't want to put all that work into our upper body and just forget about your legs, because it does make a difference, right? You don't want to be walking around in summer wearing long trousers because you know you've got skinny legs. Now, that's not taking the piss out of anyone who does have skinny legs, but it's taking the piss out of those people that have been training for ages and decide to skip legs because they can't be bothered, okay? Start training your legs. I promise you it makes a difference. Seriously. I think having big legs is one of the coolest things you can have apart in a physique, 100%. Because it's so easily noticeable. Like when you're walking and you see someone in shorts with big legs, like, holy shit, they got big legs, right? But anyway, consistency definitely matters. And also intensity. Make sure you're intense in your workouts. You're not scared to up the weights. I say only doing 6 plates. This is
relatively light for me because my legs are battered after one quad exercise, believe it or not, because it's been 4 weeks since I traded. That's what happens, right? So the more consistent you are as well, the more you can lift and the heavier you can lift over a longer period of time. And, you know, I want to build this up to at least 10 plates per side. I'm on 6 right now. I can easily get to 10. I can happen this off so you can watch it. But let's get into the set. Only going to do 2 sets on this again. Let's do it. Depth. Actually, another thing on this exercise, I am wearing sliders, which I'm going to take off. It's probably not a good idea to wear sliders here. But essentially, what I do with this one is I place my feet down, shoulder width apart at a slight outer angle, like literally the slightest bit. But then I'll go as low down on the pad I can whilst keeping my feet fully on it, because you'll see the amount of knee flexion I create because I literally go as far down as possible. Lengthens your quad, which in turn stretches it, tears it, like I said to you previously. So you want to create as much knee flexion as you can, and that's what promotes growth. So, and that's if you're targeting your quads, obviously, which I am in this exercise. Let's get it. My quads are fried like crazy. It's good to be training hard again. Still not full intensity, but soon will be once I get a bit more confidence in. I will admit though, because I'm a little man goblin, I'm nice and short, 5'8". That is obviously a benefit to growing big legs, right? Because my limbs aren't as long. So I do feel for the taller people out there. But yeah, I'll finish off this. I'll catch you on the next part. I'm dying. Okay, another thing that you cannot forget about when you're doing your leg training, right? Abductors and adductors. So that builds the sort of inner part of your thigh. So this part here, this exercise actually is more for the outer sort of glute area too. That's a lot of things that people don't train is their glutes and their inner thigh, which actually makes up like a majority percentage of your leg. And it's important you take just as much intensity on these exercises as you would all the other ones. It does make a big difference. So I'm doing my abduction machine after my leg press just because they're completely fried. I'll do adductors after, then finish off on leg extensions because I literally cannot feel my quads right now. So generally I'll do like 3 sets of pretty high volume on these 2, and that's more than enough for me to grow. But essentially the main thing I want you to get out of this is go into your leg days and do not forget about the small things like calves, abductors, adductors, all these different things. It does make a difference, and especially glutes as well, right? If you're a competitor and you want to step on stage, having small glutes is probably the worst thing ever, because you want those stripped out, sort of peeled, grainy glutes, and the only way you're going to get there is if you've actually got some muscle mass on there. So let's get into this set. I'm actually dying, but needs to be us. Got to get it done. I literally cannot feel my legs. Oh, that is brutal. They are just pumped to hell. Oh, I have to do a pump tech after this actual leg day. So thirsty too, but still got cardio to do after the session too. Ooh, right, 2 more sets of that. Right, let's give you a little pump check of the legs. Yeah, they are absolutely annihilated. Oh my god. I might have to stop training my quads. I'm not even joking. I know that sounds dumb, but I don't want them to get much bigger anymore. I don't think anyone has ever said that in the history of the gym, right? I can take you straight on to the next exercise, which is going to be, let me flip the camera over, these bad boys. Adductor machine. Now, this is another thing that a lot of people slack on too, and I attribute this to why my legs are pretty big. This specific exercise here. All right, so first off, always warm up on legs. Like I always have to do 1 or 2 feeler sets because my legs are warm, obviously, but I incorporate a thing called feeler sets, which essentially I go like half the weight I probably normally do, and I just do a couple of reps, couple of sets, just to feel the movement, like make sure I'm activating the right muscle groups, genuinely helps me out quite a bit. And yeah, these are sore as can be right now. Like, my legs are shaking, which isn't the nicest feeling. Oh my God, this is why I love the gym. I know it sounds weird, but the pain is like nice at the same time, because you know you're working hard if it hurts this much, especially. Oh. So, I'm gonna do 2 sets of this. I don't know if I could do much more because they are quite literally on fire. 2 or 3 sets of leg extensions, depending how burnt out they are, and then some hamstring curls, 2 sets of hamstring curls to finish off, just so I got a little bit of volume in there. Now, I was about to say, I'm gonna assess how my training goes within the next month and see how my legs develop. Because genuinely, if they start overtaking my upper body like by a significant amount again, I'm gonna train them once every 2 weeks. Like, I don't care. I don't want them to be too big. This sounds so dumb. Can't believe I'm saying it. Right. Let's get this set done. I can chat to you about something whilst I'm here, and that's the Gymshark event, which I'm going to. I'm not being invited. I know I mentioned it last video, but I got tickets for it. The London one. God, I might get to meet Sam Sulek, Sebum. That is pretty insane. I can't believe that. Jesse James West is going, I believe, as well. It's just nuts. That's like, yeah, I don't even know. A couple of my clients are going as well, so I'll definitely see them there. Going with Akshay and Josh, two of my closest mates, and Josh is one of my clients as well. But also, before he was my client, he is a very close mate. So that's super exciting. Now, pretty much, also like a little update, I pretty much started my full off season. Like, I'm eating 3,000 plus calories a day now. Before the last full day of eating was kind of like my last day of like maintenance. If anything, it was a slight deficit, sorry. It's like 2,800 calories. So I kind of bumped it up. I'm eating like 3.1, 3.2 a day at the moment, which I'm sitting really comfortably with. So now it's just time to push up. I really want to hit 200 pounds, 90 kilos this off season whilst keeping my abs there. That is my goal. I've only ever gotten up to 84 kilos. So I've got a cool thing to aim for. But cardio and steps are going to be kept in all year. That's one thing I'm doing this time around. All right, let's get this set down. I'm going to bang it out and I'll catch you on the next thing, because otherwise this video is going to be stupidly long. Another simple yet overlooked thing is just generally putting yourself in a calorie surplus. Now, a lot of people will be in position of a dieting phase where sometimes it is the thing they need before they start putting on muscle, because essentially, right, the leaner you are, the more insulin sensitive you are, the more your body reacts to food. The leaner you can stay and the longer you can prolong an off season, right? The more you can increase food without getting to a point where you're too fat, essentially, and your insulin sensitivity is in the bin, and you essentially gain fat at a much more rapid pace, right? So we want to keep our body in a sensitive state. And the way that most people do that, and the way that I do it with all my clients, depending on the position, of course, is I always start them off, depending on the body fat composition they're in, try to get them to a leaner starting point without psychologically damaging them, because it's not like I'm going to take someone through a diet really hard, right? Getting down to bloody below 10% body fat, and they're absolutely battered afterwards. And guess what? They're probably going to do binge, right? There's no point treating someone like an absolute crazy bodybuilder on prep if they're not one. Right, you've got to plan it around their life and how things actually work around them, right? So I'll get them to a point that they've probably never been to before, where they're relatively lean, they can see their abs for the first time, and then we'll reverse out the diet and go into an improvement phase, right? That's how I always do it, majority of the time, depending on the person. Now, if someone generally doesn't have any muscle whatsoever and they're a little bit on the higher body fat percentage range, then I'll try taking through a body recomposition where we lose fat but gain muscle at the same time, or we just focus on gaining muscle first and then we'll shed off the fat. But most importantly, you want to make sure that your body's in a prime state to gain muscle, to eat a lot of food so that you can fuel your training. That's another thing that's very much so overlooked, and people don't actually think like, hey, I need to eat food to grow. Now, that doesn't mean stop dirty bulking, eating a bunch of shit. It just means take it take it with a very strategic approach. Be smart about your gaining phases, be smart about your training, and during those improvement phases, make the most out of them, because a lot of people will take the diet super seriously. Like when they're getting lean, they'll train hard, they're dieting, they want to get lean because they've got a set goal that's very short term, right? You get to it really, really quickly most of the time, whereas an improvement phase takes a lot of time. So a lot of people just kind of start to slack in gaining phases where they just start eating what they want. They're not as strict with their sleep, their water intake, their food, their training. And they're like, why am I gaining any muscle? Like, I've gained a lot of weight. And it's because you let all those things drop. So take your bulking as seriously as you're dieting. That doesn't mean you can't have a bit of fun in between, but just realize, what's my goal? What's like my long-term goal? Don't chase those short-term sort of satisfactions of numbers, of weight going up in terms of body weight. Be smart, right? Especially if you're a natural. But anyway, going on to my second to last exercise. I've been yapping for too long. I love to use a seatbelt for this exercise. I know that sounds dumb, but essentially it keeps me locked in, like really, really tight. Like most of the time, my bum goes off of it because of how hard I'm pushing. Seatbelt keeps me completely locked in. I get such a good connection with this prime leg extension. Don't ask me about the pins I use. I just always put it on the middle one. I'm not that smart, right? I don't like to overcomplicate it like that. That removes the fun out of the gym for me. So let's go into this set. I've covered like a lot of things. I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover. So you're not going to hear me yap for too much on you guys. Feel so dizzy. Okay, one more set of this. Finish on a hamstring curls. Get some cardio into it, and then I'll speak to you properly in the car. Right, and finishing off on some hamstring curls. So this is lying hamstring curls. My top tip on this one is essentially imagine your heel is being dragged all the way up your calf, all the way to the back of your hamstring, up to your glute. Don't picture it as if it's like a semicircle, right? Like you're doing a circle move. Picture like you're dragging it all the way up your calves and your hamstrings, and that will create such a good engagement. How funny is this? A bit of inception for you guys. Look at that. Just making sure my camera's set up all good. But now let's set it up so it's a little bit lower so you can actually see what I'm doing. Look at this. I can do it from my phone. Pretty cool, eh? So we're going to do, I think like we're going to do 2 sets of this because I cannot feel my legs and I still got cardio to do. So let's just get it done and I'll catch you in the car, okay? I'm battered. Catch you in the car, guys. I'm going to torture myself for these last couple exercises. I'm not in the car. I'm actually home now because I was battered after that session, but that's always a good thing. Last thing I will end off this video on is how to make sure that you're recovering well after the sessions. And the way that you've got to do that is essentially once you go back from the gym, main priority is replenishing those glycogen stores that you've emptied out during your session in the form of a post-workout meal. So inside of here, I've got 100 grams cream of rice, 200 grams worth of fruit, so 2 different types of carb sources, and then I've got 50 grams of white chocolate Perform whey isolate, code Mikey for 25% off, and I'm using the not actual carrot cake one, I'm using chocolate brownie batter, but I've thrown the tub away because it's empty, so I picked this one up. But anyway, I'm gonna put the whey drip on top of here, and then another small little thing that you might not know is cinnamon is actually a GDA, a glucose disposable agent, which essentially helps the uptake of carbohydrates and is like almost like acts like an enzyme, breaking down the carbohydrates quicker. And it's always a good thing to implement when you're eating high carb meals. So pre-workout and post-workout highest carb meals. We're going to get the whey drip on here all over the fruit so they taste a bit better. Let's get the whey drip all over it. And you know, guys, if you struggle to eat, just get cream of rice in your diet. It's the easiest thing ever. It makes dieting so easy. I promise you, you will not bloody struggle. I can eat it all year round. I have had a little bit of a break from it because I was eating it a lot, and I was just like, right, I'm going to resensitize my body to the cream of rice, which makes no sense. I just wanted to see how long I can survive without cream of rice, and it was 2 days, okay? 2 days. 2 days, be proud of me for that.
But there we have it. That is going to round up the video. Any questions you've got, leave them in the comment section below. I will for sure answer, and hopefully you've learned something at the end of this. Now, I do not claim to be an expert in this topic. I do not claim to be a doctor or anything like that. I am just an online coach who gets some pretty cool transformations, and what I preach works pretty well on myself and on my clients. So I thought I'd share it with you guys. On that note, take it easy. Have a lovely rest of your week whenever you're watching this, and I will catch you guys in the next video, whatever that will be. If you've got any suggestions, leave them in the comments below. And if you're interested in coaching, click the link in the description and you can inquire for free. We can hop into a call, or I can send over a video like breaking down everything for you. And then if you want to support me an extra little bit, you've got my code Mikey for 25% off at Perform, which I've already mentioned, but I'll end the video off at that. See you later.